Okay. Do your thing. You have your gavel. Okay. We'll call to order the regular meeting of the Deming Public Schools, December 15, 2022. Mr. Kroll, if you'll do the roll call.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Roscoe? Present. Mrs. Paez?
Present.
Mrs. Cameron?
Present.
Mrs. Hernandez?
Present.
Mr. Crowe, present.
Okay, thank you. If everybody will rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Okay, so then we have the approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any changes to the agenda? I'll move approval. Okay, is there a second? I'll second. Okay, Mr. Cole?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Roscoe?
Yeah.
Mrs. Paez?
Yes.
Mrs. Cameron?
Yes.
Mrs. Hernandez?
Yes.
Mr. Crowe, yes.
Okay. And with that, we'll adopt the agenda and move on to reports. Superintendent Chavez.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, we have some special recognitions tonight. We have some retirees that are leaving us at semester, and we just want to recognize them for the work they've done with our students and just honor them for what they've done. We have some gifts, so I would like to, if you don't mind, coming out and recognizing them. We have Mr. David Monjaras. And his name is on the bag. They're on the cards. We also have Jerry Montes. I didn't see Mrs. Ortiz, but Mary Ortiz is retired, as well as Paul Smith, Melissa Orozco, Joseph Lucero, Sol Chavez, and Christy Lopez. it takes a village to raise our kids, and I thank you. Please get in the picture.
Yeah.
I thank you very much for all your service to our children and to your colleagues. So please get in the picture.
We are really.
I'll let them go first. Okay, here we go. That was it. Thank you. folks.
You can always come back too.
And you can always. Oh, and one more.
90 days.
90 days, 90 days. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh. I didn't know this was ever, okay. We should have been on that. Yes. Yeah, just, because we were bad. We're gonna miss him. Yes.
Olivia, your
We're not sure.
recognition.
So we'll let Ms. Paez present this award.
Okay, so this award goes to Mr. Billy Abernathy. Everybody knows that Billy has been such a part of our community for so long. We just want to thank you, Billy, for everything that you've done for the Denny Public Schools, all of the sports and everything else.
Yeah, every event you attend, Newton.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. You can come to the meetings anytime, though, Billy, you have all this time.
Okay, so then our second item, Superintendent.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, I believe I saw Ms. Kwong. We have Early College High School Student Council giving an update and report. Ms. Kwong and students, you'll have to introduce yourself. I'm sorry, I didn't know your name.
So I'm here to give a report for the Early College High School.
Nice.
So, hello to everyone. I appreciate being here with you guys today. For those who do not know me, my name is Obed Rivera. I am the Vice President of the Early College High School. On the last of the day class, we will have activities and the White Elephant Exchange, in addition to talking about Winter Ball, the Hollywood Experience, and the Spirit Week. So first things first, we're going to talk about Winter Ball. The Winter Ball was a success with about 150 attendants from both ECHS and VHS. So the Winter Ball was in Smith School and it was decorated with a winter wonderland theme. The location and decorating drew praise from many people. When I originally considered it being at Smith School, I didn't see why, but I'm delighted they did, since it reminded me of an old film where there's a ball or a prom. We could not have completed the decoration without the assistance of the parent-teacher organization and the team of parents. A special gratitude is also extended to Ms. Annabelle Ortiz and Dr. Bailey for making Winter Ball possible. Finally, also express our gratitude to the ECHS PDO for helping with the decorating and selling refreshments and taco stands is really well liked. So I want to thank you guys. You could also, if you wanted to see the Winter Ball, there's you can view the photos from the Winter Ball at the GPS Facebook page if you are interested in that.
Nice.
Additionally, yesterday was a really special day for the kids who decided to pursue their careers in acting, special effects, and other related fields. The Weapon of Weaponry visited ECHS and there was hands-on Hollywood there. One of the presentations they showed was about how they made movies and include Game of Thrones. When they first arrived, several kids were having such a good time. There were so many kids interested in pursuing career in film. They came to ECHS as an honor, and I really, really loved it. So, you may be wondering why I decided to like wear pajamas. Now, this is the reason.
Because the sun was down.
So, this week is Spirit Week, and today was pajama days in our school, and I decided to show my school spirit and wear pajamas.
Nice.
Very good.
So that actually leads to my next thing, which is Spirit Week and activities and the White Elephant Gift Exchange for the last day. On Monday, these are just the Spirit Week days that we did. So on Monday, you could dress up as one of Santa's helpers, and it's called Santa's Workshop. Tuesday was Tacky Tuesday, where you could wear your hideous Christmas sweater. And on Wednesday was dress as a character from your childhood or earlier photograph. I saw some people, it was really nice. And today, of course, was pajama day. And on Friday it's gonna be, for tomorrow, a final day. And it's where you pretty much dress like, just squares, kind of like these kind of pants. And that's pretty much it. So I appreciate your inviting me to speak about the experience and activities that took place at ECHS. But that is what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Madam President, may I say something? On Monday, I did get to go out to the early college. And it was really, for the half a day I stayed, it was really inspirational and informative. And I think we were fortunate to have that in the community, and especially with the I keep saying early college high school. So I appreciate the ability to come, and thank you, Brian, for allowing that.
Anybody else have any comments? Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. We really enjoy hearing what all you're doing. Sounds like a lot. Sounds fun. Okay, so our third report.
Madam President, members of the board, we have Ms. Charity Chung here for our NEA report.
Madam President, members of the board, superintendent. So, we are still waiting on our CBA. There was some confusion. Ms. Ruddle was out for a little bit on where the clean copy was for us to move forward. So now I have to still kind of track that down. I think I have it somewhere. So now that it's break, we'll be having that time to track that down, and we'll be able to get that ratified by my membership in January, and then to you guys. Apologies for the slowness on this. At the same time, we are looking forward to beginning bargaining in January with Ms. Ruddle. So that's exciting. So we'll be beginning that process. Beyond bargaining for members, one of the things that we do is we do go in with members, and not just members, even non-members right now, when they are having an issue. And for whatever reason, it could be an investigation, it could be something smaller. They are advised that they have the right to ask for a union representative. So we are going in on those on a continual basis. You don't necessarily hear about them all the time, because a lot of times they contain confidential matters that we go in on. But just to let you know, some of the things that we do when we do that is, one, when people go into that type of stressful environment where they're feeling pressured and they're feeling like they're being accused, whether, whatever, if they are or not, that's what they feel like when they go into those situations. And so there's a lot of information coming at them, and they don't always focus on the underlying things that they need to. Sometimes they're distracted by one bit of information that they're given. So one of the things that we go in with them and do is we help them to focus on the part of whatever it is that they need to resolve. So it could mean that I'm encouraging them to speak forward to their principal or their administration or whoever it is. Maybe you should go back and have a separate conversation with them about this, whatever they tell me afterwards. Sometimes it can be as simple as an employee that after the meeting, I pull over and I'm like, do you understand what your administration actually wants you to do? And they're like, no. And I'm like, we want you to quit being a negative Nelly. You're bringing down your team. And I can say that administration can't always be as plain spoken as I can be with them. And so, and I've had that conversation many years ago, so I'm not violating any confidentiality. But so as far as that, I'm going to start sending you guys a report every couple of months that kind of gives you a heads up on some of the things that we've been doing that I can't speak about in open meeting like this. Okay, just to let y'all know a little bit more about that, and what I'm doing and what I'm slowly starting to train some other people to do those meetings too. It does take somebody that can really hear what admin's saying as the underlying reason for the meeting. You have to really be able to part that out in order to be able to be a good representative for people, because we don't want them just there to say, okay, I'm your representative, if we ever need to go to court or something like that. We want somebody that's there that can behind the scenes help guide the employee. And as far as that guidance, it also means, we typically have people that they have 48 hours to write a response. It can be really hard to write those responses when you're filled with whatever emotions you're feeling. And so we often go over that response for people before they turn it in. It reassures the employee that what they've written is okay, but then there are also times that we get some that are very confusing, to be perfectly honest. And so we'll sit down with the employee and say, okay, can you tell me a little bit more about this part, like exactly what happened here? Okay, let's add that in. Again, because in the moment of writing that, they are filled with emotion. It's very hard to write those when you're in that state of mind. And you've only got that 48 hours to get it written. So we help them to clean it up and make sure that it's very well, not well written necessarily, because I don't fix their words to that point, but I fix it so that it makes sense and flows and fills in any gaps that administration might need to know. And let's see, we had our bowling night. That was a lot of fun. You know, we're continuing. I'm getting those new people trained to take over. Any other questions?
No. I really appreciate
Good
it.
report. Thank you.
So, Madam President, members of the board, our final report is by our district attorney, Mr. Michael Renteria, and team to share some a grant of information about a grant that they're looking to write to support school resource officers. So, Mr. Renteria.
Thank you for that introduction, Superintendent. Madam President, board members, Mr. Turner, and all the public that are attending tonight. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to address you on what I believe is a serious concern, and I'm hoping to offer some assistance with that concern. So if you'll allow me, and I'll try and be brief, but that's asking a lot of lawyers. And I know you know, that's asking a lot.
If we turn the lights off, does that tell you? It's
Yes, ma'am. So what I wanted to share with you is this. So every district attorney recognizes and understands that one of the paramount duties that we have is ensuring public safety. That's like one of my biggest things. Every day I get up, every night I go to bed, I'm always concerned about our communities, our people. My district, if you don't know, it includes Luna, Hidalgo, and Grant counties. That's my area. So every one of those communities, every one of those schools, they're all important to me. If I'm, correct me if I'm wrong, I think there are 6 school districts within those 3 counties, and let me make sure I get them. So Deming Public Schools, Silver City Public Schools, we have Baird, or Coburg Public Schools, we have Animas, we have Lordsburg, and then I made sure not to forget, I talked with them last night, was the charter school. And so I've been working my way around, trying to make sure that people recognize the concern that I have, and I'm being more proactive rather than reactive. And that's really why I'm here to talk to you about, because I think we need to take a proactive stance on what I'm wanting to present with you. So Superintendent was correct. It's regarding school resource officers. For those of you who know what that is, that's really good. I'm thinking that most of us would, because I think we're fortunate to have 2 or 3 in our schools at this time. And what my plan is, through federal grant writing and federal funding, recurring funding, by the way, that'll put no strain on any community or any school district. I'm hoping to secure as many of those as I can, because there's a lot of money available right now, a lot of it. And I want to make sure that we do our part to get our fair share, or as much as I can do. So let me share with you, back in May, I'm going to say right around the time, I think it was May 24th, right in that area, that date might be of some meaning to you all. That's when Uvalde occurred, that shooting in Uvalde, Texas. So it was shortly after that I started thinking we needed to get proactive, and I thought it needs to start with my office. And so I have a federal grant writer. She's also a special programs director. Most of you know her, Jenny Becerra. She worked for CYFD for many years, supervisory capacity and so forth. She's an excellent grant writer. Case in point, last fiscal year, she brought in nearly $800,000 through our office. We didn't keep it all. We branched it out and pushed it out for diversion programs and specialty court programs and other things that we're working on. But some of it did benefit us. I'm not gonna say it didn't. For example, my victim advocates who are VAWA and VOCA related, for those of you, I know the president knows about that. We had to apply for grant monies. We were one of the few districts that got the monies. And also our high intensity drug trafficking area monies, that grant monies related, they're all federal. All of this is federal. So she not only secured us those funds to keep people employed at my office and doing that work, which is very vital to the functioning of my office. But others that I mentioned that we were able to hand off and let fiscal agents take care of it and just go forward with what they're doing. That's what I have in mind here for SROs. So I wanted to share with you all, protecting those who cannot protect themselves, that's a big thing. And right away, the first two groups that go to my head are children, students, as well as staff, because they're all in the same environment. And then, of course, the elderly. I always think of the elderly, how they're exploited and so forth, and can't always really protect themselves. So my positioning is this: the vigilance required to ensure that we're being proactive rather than reactive. It's a nonstop thing. We can't ever afford to let our guard down. The price is too high. And unfortunately, you all know mass shootings, school shootings, other safety threats like that, they exist in our world. They exist in our country. Matter of fact, our country leads the world in how many of those occur. And sadly to say, I can remember back when we had one of those events here in our community. So we've been deeply affected. It's happened here. It's not something like, oh, I hope it never happens. It's happened. So with that, I just really feel that I need to make it a strong point in front of you all based on what I'm trying to accomplish for us. It's that it's not really a matter of if. I don't believe that. It's really a matter of when. And I think history has played that out, that that's actually true, especially in our little community. So one of the things I wanted to share with you, if you'll allow me, and I'll try and get through them real quickly. So there's been a school shooting in this country every year since 1966. Every year since 1966. For example, 2018, 2019, the numbers were 119 school shootings in our country. How was they equal down? They're the same number. That's coincident. I don't know how that happened, but that's the statistic. In 2020, we had 114. 2021, it rose to 250. This year, just through October, not including November and up to date, we've had 257
Since June?
since January.
Since January.
So the numbers are staggering to me. I mean, completely bothersome. I want to mention this other one. Between 2018 and 2022, more people have died from mass shootings at public schools than the previous 18 years combined. That's how bad it is, and that's how much of a crisis it's become. So I wanted to share that also with you. I mentioned it earlier, the US has had more school shootings than any other country in the world. We lead the whole world in that. And I don't even want to tell you the numbers compared to some of the other countries, because it's alarming and it's embarrassing, just because I feel we need to do more. And that's what I'm here trying to pitch. One other thing I want to share with you. So the Federal Commission on School Safety, we did some research, and I'm going to quote what they said. The ability of specially selected and trained SROs to establish trusting relationships with students has been demonstrated to prevent school shootings. Their data, their research has shown that's what it's doing. So I figured that really favors what I'm trying to pitch and get support from you all. One thing I want you to know from our research, SROs, they bridge the gap between youth and law enforcement. I don't want you to feel, oh, it's a way to arrest more students, or, oh, it's a pipeline way to get people into prison or into jail. That's not it at all. Not in the true sense of how SROs should work. I wanted to share that. A couple other little things. SROs, they serve as trusted adults within the school community. I know you probably all see it now with the ones that we're fortunate enough to have. Unfortunately, I think I heard we're down to 2, that we lost.
No, we
one.
have 3,
We have 3, beautiful. Well, we need more.
and we're asking for a
We
4th
need
one.
more. So my dream in all of this, because I know that SROs can also serve as mentors, educators, support figures within the school environment. All of these positives that I want us really to consider and focus on, which I'm sure a lot of you share that with me. My dream, I'd like to have an SRO in every school, all 3 counties of my district. The 6 districts that I just mentioned to you, that would be a beautiful thing. I don't know if we can obtain that or reach that goal, but I sure like to give it a try. Because even if I get 1 or 2 or whatever, in each one going, it's an improvement. We're pushing in the right direction. And so with that, The last few things I want to share with you, before I talk to you about a little bit of what I did to get us to this point. I researched and read and found this, that it's the position of the New Mexico School Insurance Authority that school districts should contract with local certified law enforcement agencies for SROs. And whenever possible, and when it's not possible, and I'm saying it is, but when it's not possible, there are other measures like security guards, armed, I would say armed, and I would propose to you, that's the only really way to take care of being proactive rather than reactive. Armed security guards, I know that Silver's looking into that. I'm not here to thwart or tell any district how they should do it. I'm saying I've got a plan. I know there's federal monies. I know the monies are recurring. As long as we hit the measurables and do all the reporting that's required, we can keep this thing going well beyond my time in office, which is the ultimate goal. I would love to see that in place. Most rural communities, as you would probably guess, like New Mexico school districts like ours, they don't have SROs. And the main reason is they can't afford them. It's too much of a burden on budgets or whether it comes to the city or to the county or whatever. And so I want to go after these federal grants. I want to focus in on the ones that are recurring. I know that I want to focus on SRO related grant monies, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you all that there aren't other ones that we could probably pursue that might help in other ways. But it's not my pitch today, but there's other monies that we could surely try and go after. For example, security perimeter fencing, increased, what would it be, security at the doorway, like maybe one or two doors where there's a lot more security of just walking in, and there's monies for that. I'm not gonna lie to you, there is, and happy to go after those. But that's not what I'm here to try to really convince you all to support me on today. It's really having armed, certified law enforcement that are tactical, that are trained, that are in essence, let's be straight up with it. The ones that are gonna run in to take the bullets instead of letting the children and the staff members take the bullets. Eliminate the threat. That's what they're gonna be trained to do. And more than any other thing in presence in a school, I think that's what we need to do in order to be proactive, in order to not have to have an event happen and then we're all looking at each other, myself included, wondering, why didn't we do something? Why did we have to wait till it happened? I don't wanna wait that long. And I've got a bunch of research that I know my special programs director has been disseminating to the schools. I don't think we got it to you all. It's really thick, but it's the basis of where we're coming from with everything. I'd like to share it with you. I don't have a copy today. I gave mine up to the charter school last night, but I can get another copy. I can deliver it to the superintendent. She can, disseminate it. We can send it by email, but it's pretty thick. But just to let you all know what angle we're coming from, what's the research we've done. It includes everything from A to Z that I'm here trying to talk to you all about. I tried to get in last year's cycle with the feds, but I missed it. Because like I mentioned to you, in May is when the Uvalde thing happened. Those grants closed down and they closed down in March and April. So I missed the window. I don't want to miss it again. I know it's coming up. We're getting ready for it. I've talked to every law enforcement head in all 3 counties before I've come to see you. I've talked to every superintendent before coming to see the whole boards about their positioning on it. And all of it has been supported. All of it has been recognizing the need, understanding why we want it. I haven't really got any pushback or negativity from anybody that I've approached before coming to the board. So now I'm doing that. I'm doing my due diligence. I've covered 2 school districts already. This is the 3rd. I'm halfway home. But I don't want to wait till since, like I mentioned to you all, these grants start closing down in March, most of them in April. The window is kind of small, but we can hit it. And I'm hoping that you all can give me some kind of vote or indication that you're behind that plan. Let me worry about getting the monies. Once I get them, then of course we turn them over to a fiscal agent. That could be the county for the sheriff's office. That could be the city through the DPD. Those things can be worked out. Not trying to add more work to school personnel or anything like that. And I also don't want to have to dump on them, having to watch after the monies and how they're spent and that it's appropriate to the grant. Us law enforcement people should take care of it. I include myself in that. I'm part of that team. I don't mind being one of the people that helps manage and make sure that we're watchdogging and accounting for it all the way we should. So with all of that I've shared, I know it hasn't been as brief as I probably should have been, but I stand for questions. Anything you'd like to ask me, I'd be more than happy to try and answer that before I walk away from the podium today.
Does anybody have any questions?
I don't know if it's a question, but 20 years ago or so, we had a couple of the SROs in our school. And I was principal at that time. And I saw children that we knew there were some things wrong, that were happening in their lives. And I saw them become friends and be able to tell them, feeling like they could tell them some things that were happening. And then we were given enough information to help them, the children. It was it was a very small, I think we only had 2, if I remember correctly, and for the whole district, but it was to me very valuable. And it was also someone as a principal to be able to call upon when you were not sure that something was not happening on the campus. Maybe for elementary, it was more like outside the campus. And I'm a very strong proponent of us having the SROs back in our schools again, and hopefully a bigger, larger number.
And if I could comment on that real briefly, Ms. Cameron, and I appreciate that you shared that. So I have my 2 investigators here. I have 2, Jacob Vega, and they are certified law enforcement officers. They're not just, and some districts do hire just people that they tag them as investigators and they let them do the work that's required, not me.
Mhm.
I want them certified, I want them trained, I want them current in everything that they need to be, so that when a sheriff's office or a police department calls them out, they're ready to go and they're fully trained. And I know Chief Orozco has a lot of understanding of what I'm sharing, and I appreciate that he's on the board because I know he'll have that insight. So just to share with my view, SROs should be for this public safety factor, not really, let's get a cop on campus, or that's not my aim, but I bow to however you all want to deploy it and use them. And I'm sure you all have good understanding of how you want to do it. Some districts are very strict on that. Others are not. They want them to be, moving around and in other words, engaging not only with the kids, but on whatever activity might be that's criminal and be part of that. That's fine. If that's what you all choose, more power to you. I respect it. In my view, though, SROs are, like I mentioned, those are the people that run in, like it really didn't happen in Uvalde, that they run in there and they either get killed or they eliminate the threat.
Mhm.
That's it. To me, that's the biggest portion of the pie. It's right there. But I would never presume to tell a school board, not to make it adjust and fit your all needs, because every school district is going to be unique. There are going to be different needs, different concerns. Totally respect that. I don't want to have my hands in trying to tell you how to do that, but I just want you to know, pure from my heart, what I want is these people that are going to go in there and eliminate the threat or take a bullet
Mhm.
rather than our children or our staff.
Mhm.
And I just wanted to stress that. I felt like I should do that. And Chief might have different views and I respect them, but that's my view. That's how I look at it.
No, you're right. It's a lot of times when you look at these school shootings and a lot of it is they're looking to inflict the most harm in a short amount of time. And they
right.
know that as soon as they enter that school, police are going to be coming. It's not an if, it's a win. And so by having somebody on campus, by having multiple on campus, it's a preventative measure to
Right.
be able to try to
Yeah.
minimize or even reduce or even stop that kind of stuff from happening. And so that mere presence is good. Having that ability to implement, when I was here, we implemented the DARE program as well.
Right.
And it built the relationship from 5th grade. That's where we utilized. And these kids are starting to come up into the high school and some of the SROs that are in place now taught DARE or still teaching DARE. And so those kids remember that. And so that relationship has kind of blossomed from 5th grade all the way to high school.
That's awesome.
And so these kids will come back and they'll tell the officers, hey, what's going on, or so-and-so has this, or this is what, needs to be addressed. So it's good in that respect because it builds that relationship.
Yeah.
And that relationship is huge because today's times, with law enforcement taking a pretty hard hit, and continues to do so. And so, anything that you can do to counteract that, is always a positive.
Thank you for that. That's all true.
I think when we have trust, the students have trust, then they're more willing to share when they know something is on the horizon.
Mr. Renteria, I applaud you for the opportunity that we're going to hopefully agree on. I think it's a great opportunity and it's a great idea, and I think it's something we need.
And I appreciate all the support that I can get behind it. I appreciate you, Mr. Kroll. I know I bounced some things off of you just to see how I should approach it. I've been very very grateful to all the help. I know you all know better than me, whether some school districts are doing a resolution, some are doing action item, some aren't doing any of that. Like, just telling us, we're behind it, we're behind you. Once we get the funding, then I know what schools to include, ask for a letter. you know,
Right.
Turn it in, and then we decide how to divvy it up based on need and size and all these things that are a factor. But first I gotta get it, I gotta get the money
Yes.
for us. I just wanna know that this school district would be in support or not, so that I can know how to divvy it up and work my way through the grant process. And that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
So, Madam President, members of the board, I just have two things to say. First, I want you to know that we actually do seek other funding to make sure we're upgrading our security. All of our schools have a double entryway with video cameras that you have to ring yourself in and state why you're there. But we need SROs. I believe we need more of them. I think it's been a great partnership and a great relationship. So then the second thing is we absolutely, because of how this was presented
Yes, ma'am.
and put on the agenda, we're not going to take an official vote.
Okay.
However, you do have our full support as a district, and I'll be happy to write you a letter of support whenever you need that. And if you feel like you'd rather have a resolution, we'll be happy to get that done for you too.
No, I trust how
Yes.
you all
Okay.
feel would be the best
Okay.
way.
We're happy to do whatever needs to happen to support you through this.
That's what I was gonna add. I was thinking if Superintendent Chavez could write a letter now,
Yes.
and if we have time, I mean, if you give us a deadline, we can have 2 meetings for
It's
resolution.
one meeting for a resolution.
Oh, we only need one. Okay, so we could do it in
Policy.
January.
First
And-
of January, yeah.
I am. at your
Absolutely.
disposal.
Would that
If
help?
I can just add one thing.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I just was, would that work
I
for you?
do-
That'd be enough time
More
for you
than
to turn it in?
Yes.
Okay,
Because, Madam President, there will be a time period where I've got to show which
Of
schools I'm
course.
looking at trying to
right.
cover,
No,
which
we-
districts, which school districts.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that I include all the ones that feel it's a good opportunity to pursue this. And
Absolutely.
those that don't, I respect it. I respect it. And I pray to God, that we're able to help them if it ever happens, but I'm really excited that Demi Public Schools would be one that would
Absolutely.
want to
Absolutely.
allow me to go forward on their behalf and see if I can secure this funding and get us going.
Yeah.
I'd be proud of that. if it-
May I just say one more thing, Madam President, members of the board? I don't know if you know this, but I was a teacher at when that event happened. And I was one of the teachers who brought kids into my classroom. My husband was the assistant principal. My daughter was a 7th grader. So my experience with school violence is real. I live it every day and it is my priority. So whatever we can do to support you all in helping us, we're going to be there for you.
And I appreciate that a lot. It's my priority as well.
I was there that day. I still remember. It. So, yeah, it was definitely something that's near and dear. And you probably already know this part of it, but legislation's coming up on the state side. Law enforcement's, pretty short across the state as far as pay goes.
Everyone's hurting.
Nobody can
Everyone.
compete.
Yes, sir.
And so that's something that I think. If you have a say so in any of that, to please speak up, because law enforcement is the applicant pool for officers is very low. It's not an attractive field, and so pay is one of those things, and New Mexico's, needs to kind of step up to the plate and do something about that.
So, Madam President, Board Member Orozco, so the recruitment is one thing, right? And we're working the same thing. I'm short a couple of prosecutors for that. But the retention of them, once you do recruit the good ones, you want to be able to keep them.
Yeah.
So I am wholeheartedly in with you. I know that us 14 DAs in the state, we're getting ready to do our battle and present bills and work towards support, not only for law enforcement, but for self-serving for our office as well, because it's hard to get good prosecutors. I mean, I have 4 that commute in from Cruces, 4. They're not even in our district, but they come in from Cruces. So I not only want to retain them, but I want to see if I can recruit, because it's so hard in a rural area or district like ours. That affects us. I mean, it's just the way it is. But yeah, I agree with you. I need to pull on those legislators and I'm getting better at it. The more I'm in office, I'm getting better at it. And I like it. I enjoy the work. And so I appreciate the opportunity again. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
listening to me, and I look forward to us accomplishing some good things for the students and especially for their safety and well-being.
Can I add one thing? So I just wanted to make sure you are aware, and you probably are, but so we have Deming High School, but we also have Members Valley, which is a school within a school at the high school.
Okay.
So was hoping that in your proposal that,
can
yes,
include
there are
that.
separate schools, so that maybe each one could have one, and then we have the charter school and we have early college.
So I cover the
So,
charter school.
Yeah,
Maybe you can help me by making sure we include the other.
Absolutely.
Do they
Yeah.
have separate boards?
No.
no,
They're all-
because they're a
all
part
under
of
the-
public
part of-
schools,
yeah.
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 Only the charter school. has
Charter
separate
school
board.
has a separate.
And I
board.
took care of them last night.
Yeah.
and we're
Okay.
good.
Yeah, no, and then I just want to thank you, like everybody else
Yes,
did,
Thank you.
for being here and
Yeah.
taking time. I know you're super busy also, and
Thank you so much
this
for the
is
time. Yeah.
important.
Thank you.
With
Thank
your help,
you.
we can get this done.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Okay, and so that concludes our report. So
Yes,
move on to
right
the
to
consent agenda. Okay, is there? So the consent agenda includes the minutes of the special meeting held on December 1st, payment of the bills and the budget adjustment request, numbers 1 through 4.
I would move that we approve the consent agenda.
Okay, is there a second?
One second.
Okay, Mr. Cole?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Orozco?
Yeah.
Mrs. Paez?
Yes.
Mrs. Cameron?
Yes,
Mrs. Hernandez?
Yes.
Mr. Crowe, yes.
Okay, and with that, we'll move on to our action items. I'll turn it back over to
Yes.
Superintendent Chada.
Madam President, members of the board, we have a special treat tonight. We do want you to consider acceptance of a grant from Brain Hackers Association and the Haas Foundation for the best robotics, but we have Mr. Wertz and team to do a demonstration before we ask you to approve that, the work that they've been doing with their robotics. Come on.
This might be the
Oh.
most interesting board meeting we've had in a
Most
while.
interesting board meeting. I
And it's the
agree.
last one of the year.
Right?
I just like a
Okay.
clarification on Brain Hackers Association.
Yes, me too. I love the name.
I love the name.
Board Superintendent, thank you for allowing us to come. The two items on the grant, is I got 2 emails about a month ago saying there's some funding if you wanted to try and get it, reply, and if I replied and we got
There you go.
$5,000.
Oh.
Yay.
Um,
5,000?
We got 3,115 from one and 2,500 from another, I think, so.
Wow, great.
something like that. So. Basically, what the grant requires is that we continue to do FIRST Robotics.
Okay,
What are they gonna do? So. That's like a
super.
win-win to me.
Yes.
Last time that we came, you asked us to report out on how things went, so I'm going to let the students report out on how things went.
Don't all jump in.
The Short straw.
Within the first competition, which was in Las Cruces, we went into our hub and we placed 3rd place overall between all the teams. That's between 3 separate competitions. The actual robotics competition that you see over there. There's a presentation, business presentation competition, and
Nice.
it's a exhibit presentation as well.
Wow,
Awesome.
congratulations.
Yes.
I'm going to talk about the marketing presentation you guys got there.
So the marketing presentation that we got there was at the hub that we had in Cruces, the local one. And then that one, they had the marketing presentation, they had it over a laptop, so it was over Zoom call.
Oh.
And then when we get to the actual local hub itself, they have another, what is it? What was the presentation?
Exhibit.
The exhibit, they have an exhibit where my peers and I were able to set up a table and like have flyers off on the side and give away products to judges to help like show them that we're a business and that we're learning and we're learning these skills from like robotics and stuff.
Oh,
We ended up getting 3rd place overall. for that.
nice.
So in the game, what place did we get? Speak truthfully, what place did we get?
The first hub at Cruces, we got, I believe it was 6th place.
We tied for 5th.
Fifth, tied it at the-
Who beat us?
Oh, Caesar Chavez.
That's what Chavez knocked us out.
Oh.
We still qualified because we won the best award. So. Go ahead and tell them about. We qualified to go to Texas. And explain. What happened there.
So we're in Texas, it's a little,
Fresco, Texas.
Frisco, okay.
This was
Near Dallas.
Hopefully Dallas.
I know, I grew up.
We drove down there and the first day we were there, we were able to check in our robot and everything. And it's basically like the local hub, except there it's definitely a lot more like competitive, way more competitive. There's a lot more schools there than you would actually expect there to be. So we did the marketing presentation again, except there we try to have a different attire, to be a bit more professional. And there was the exhibit presentation as well, but it's not a separate exhibit, like it's in a room about, like maybe this size, and there's about 30 different teams all crammed in there together. Yeah, and anybody else want to speak on how we did with the robot? Marcos, you got the best score.
So with the robot, out of all the teams, we got like 32nd out of like 70 some schools or 77 teams.
Still good. Wow.
So we definitely were scoring a lot better than we did originally from Las Cruces. We had to change our whole robot design in a week.
Wow.
How did we score in cruises?
We were scoring like our highest score in Cruces was 35 points. And our highest score in Frisco was 130.
Nice. Congratulations. That's great.
Yeah, definitely redesigning our robot, allowed us to actually compete with those teams in Texas. Like we said, it's way more competitive. There's hundreds of ideas that kind of accumulate each other. Honestly, I think it kind of opened our eyes to see where we could improve, but also know that we actually did, I would say, pretty well, way better than what we were thinking.
Nice.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And out of New Mexico schools, how did you do in the game?
We got
We got third.
They were third in New Mexico.
Wow.
Congratulations.
We beat the teams that beat us in at NMSU, but the first place team we didn't beat.
Yes.
It's all right. There's a
Yes.
goal there.
Yes.
But that wasn't level.
So because they qualified in cruises, they give all the teams that go there a plaque. The teams that make it to that competition, they're the top 85%
Okay.
of all the teams.
Wow.
So those 72, so they were 32nd out of 72. And then while we were there, they were excited because we got another award.
For best t-shirt design, actually.
Oh,
Oh.
wow.
Wow.
My friend Rudy, who
That's
actually
great.
designed, and Marcos as well, they did a majority of the work with the t-shirt and then.
Place. That's cool. Second place. Yeah.
Best team,
Yeah.
second place. That's
The
neat.
shirts alone took us about a month to probably design in like another 2 or 3 weeks. to actually-
The students actually, like Marcos and Rudy, they actually designed them, cut out the vinyl and made them.
Oh, nice.
Can you
Oh,
step
yeah.
forward so we can see those? They're right there, that'd be
So
fine.
I have to admit, these
Yeah,
are the
those are
special
great.
edition ones after the fact,
Oh,
because they forgot to bring their t-shirts, but we had some that we needed to make, and I had more red than silver, so that's why there's a lot of red.
That's
The
okay.
Yeah,
original ones
yeah.
had more silver.
Had like this metallic looking
Oh,
vinyl, so it like
neat.
gives the like the conveyor belt like a nice texture.
Oh,
That's
okay.
the compact.
Oh, that's impressive.
Maybe you should show it to the audience too. so they
Yeah.
can
nice,
see.
nice.
That's very impressive.
If you don't mind, real quick, they're gonna just show you more or less how the robot moves.
Yeah, We
If you
do.
wanna stand up and.
Yeah.
You can stand.
let's go see.
Was this vinyl, so like, I didn't want to. And these are only conditions around out there. And encapsulated you over there as well. So you're qualified, you win, you get to take their actual like. Yeah, we took their field, we took the field and they had out of practice.
So this is the field that at NMSU, when they're done, they give away parts of the field and luckily we were able to get one, but this was the one that didn't work. But 2 of the students worked on the wiring and they got half of it to work, because the way this competition is supposed to go is we had to design a robot that could control a robot. So this device here, that looks kind of weird. It's supposed to be a robot. And you control it using those 3 levers down there manually. So go ahead and see if you can get the wheels on Squeaky. So the robot's name is Squeaky. And those little white pieces of wood that he put in those are supposed to be the robot wheels. And they're supposed to, when we redesigned it, so we could put 2 on at once.
Wow.
And then that's supposed to be a battery box. And Marcos and Sean were our top drivers, so they're pretty good. It takes me about 5 minutes to do what they can do in about 3, so. Our field isn't really, when we moved it over here, we must have disconnected something, because we can't rotate the robot around to do squeaky, but basically, they loaded everything, then we were supposed to push the robot down. And then at competition, they could also make it go backwards, but ours doesn't go in reverse. So. Anyways, I'll go ahead and grab the box and move it around. So part of the competition is you could get the box and move it in close to the track. If you can get it within 6 inches, then that was 5 points. The wheels were on squeegee with 10 points each, and the battery box is 10. And because limited space, we can't do the other side.
And it all has to be out of wood, or can you make plastic?
So that robot has to be out of the parts that they gave us, and this field they built when we brought it here. I tried to build a field, but the parts were in back order for years, so I couldn't build it.
They just give you the parts and then you build it.
Correct. They give you basically a bucket. Why would it?
Lizzie, will you feed the dogs, please?
So how many worked on this? I predict you're gonna work
So,
on Amazon.
There were 11 students that worked on it, but only 8 of them were able to go to the competition. And then, I mean, we're missing 2. So I had 8 of them that went to NMSU and 8 of them that we sent to the.
Okay.
So now,
The next step.
so this season's over, this competition,
Okay.
and now that money is for First Robotics. This is Best Robotics, there's 2 different ones. So now I have to come back to you and try and get approval to go to San Antonio and Amarillo in March.
Just come begging with candy or something.
It's gonna help the future in logistics, man.
That's good.
Oh.
We won't forget.
Thank you. I would have forgotten. I was mesmerized with the robot.
That's very cool.
That is.
Super cool. Okay, so is there a motion?
Thank you.
With regard to the robotics grants?
I would,
I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Cole?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Roscoe? Yes. Mrs. Paez?
Yes.
Mrs. Cameron?
yes.
Mrs. Hernandez?
Yes.
Mr. Crow, yes.
Okay,
Guys, thank you so much, really.
Yeah.
Thank you. And congratulations.
yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Okay, so
So Madam President, members of the board, the next action item is action item B, consideration and approval of budget adjustment requests that were not part of the consent agenda. And we have Ms. Doyle on Zoom to go over those items with us.
Good evening, members of the board, Madam President, Superintendent Chavez. You do have before you a number of budget adjustments this evening. The first two, number 4 and 5, are in reference to the vape detectors that you approved last board meeting. When I prepared the budget adjustments, I was unaware that they would need to be capitalized. So I'm just moving it to the appropriate fund so that we can capitalize the vape detectors. And that is true for both budget adjustment 5 and 6, I'm sorry. You'll see I'm moving it, the funds to the capital outlay function, which will allow me to capitalize them. Number 7 is some additional monies that we did receive for some ARP funding. This is related to our special education IDEA B students. This is primarily going to be used to fund some instructional materials that will help target special education students for math and reading, as well as some professional development and some educational assistance. This funding must be expended. It's not recurring. It's a one-time funding. And similarly, The next budget adjustment is our sped money as well, but this is for pre-K. So this is going to be used primarily to help fund some NEA. And then number 9 is, let me see. Just as we were, I was working with Mr. Chavez, we're trying to move the funds around so that we can better utilize them. There are some salary savings that we have in this grant, so we're trying to move them to a line item that he can utilize them better. And then we do have our Title IV, similarly, just moving money around to line items that he can use them. And we also, when we budgeted, we were unsure exactly what staff member he would hire, or what job classification he would hire under. And we budgeted in one, we ended up hiring in another. So we're just also changing the job class to match where that employee is actually paid from. And then we are reallocating some PD. I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses on. Reallocate funds not used for PD to student supplies. And then number 12, we're almost done, I promise. This transfer is used to pay for student graduation caps and gowns for students in the migrant program. And number 13, we are moving funds so that staff can attend a migrant education conference. And then number 14, this is a grant that is specifically for Bell School, and it is an early literacy grant. I worked with Ms. Reinhardt on how to budget this. It was actually pretty stringent on how PED wanted it budgeted, but we did work with her, and this is the budget that PED has asked for. And then we did, the last one I have is operational. There's some funds that we are moving to cover a student nutrition salary. So this is just moving salary from our O&M to food service function. And with that, wow, that's a lot. I will stand for any questions.
Does anybody have any questions, comments?
What, a little more on the wind projects, the wind farm projects.
Yes, ma'am.
Just again, tell me, I think my mind blanked out when you talked about the wind farm projects.
I think she said that had something to do with the vape money that we
The vape,
received, right?
Okay, okay.
So when we purchased the vape detectors, I want to be real careful how I say that, because last time I said we were purchasing vapes. So I'm real careful about that. We did receive some funding for that, and the additional funding I wanted to go ahead and take out of wind farm because that was, we had already budgeted in that line item for that. And so that's the additional funding I took out of there.
Thank you.
And then again, just moving it to a line item that I can capitalize, and it will show up on our financial statements as equipment.
Thank you, Mrs. Noel.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I so move, is this for all?
Yes.
I so move for the approval of the budget adjustment request as been explained to us tonight.
Okay,
Numbers, what, 5 through 15?
yes.
I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Clark?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Orozco?
Yeah.
Mrs. Paez?
Yes.
Mrs. Cameron?
Yes.
Mrs. Hernandez?
Yes,
Mr. Crowe, yes.
okay. Superintendent
Thank you.
Chavez?
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, action item C is consideration and acceptance of a donation to Early College High School. So I have Mr. Simpson here to discuss what the donation was. It was a pretty nice.
Yeah, it was a elderly man in the community that had the collection of, science equipment appropriate for lab use. And he was going to donate it, was a connection to Dr. Reck, who's our biology and research professor.
Oh, wonderful.
Wow. So in your board packet, there is a list of the items that
Mhm.
he's donating that are appropriate for the early college.
Yes, and
So
we
we
want to thank him
Mhm.
for that donation. Mr. St. Louis,
Mr.
correct?
St.
Yes.
Louis, yes.
Is there a motion to accept the donation?
I make a motion that we accept the donation.
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Cole?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mrs. Paez?
Yes.
Mrs. Cameron?
Yes.
Mrs. Hernandez?
Yes,
Mr. Crow, yes.
yes, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We know y'all will put them to good use.
Yes,
We will, we'll be taking care of it and thank you for your.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay,
So, Madam President, members of the board, action item D is consideration and acceptance of the Child Care Supply Building Grant Award. That word is building in there is a little bit, I think,
Phoebe?
deceiving, thank you, because this is not to build anything. This is actually to develop an employer-based childcare center. So we were awarded by the Early Childhood Bureau $375,000 to help us lift this up. That'll be used with the Kellogg grant we already accepted to hire staff, replace playground equipment, and get rolling on it. So it looks like we still have a space over at my little school. We're going to be hiring a coordinator very, very soon. Mrs. Ruddle shaking her head yes.
Oh.
And they'll be able to lift this off the ground for us. So we're hoping by the end of February, we'll be able to offer that, some of those options for birth to our employees.
wow. And
Is something real quick. So where is it gonna be located? over
My
there?
little school.
But where at in my school?
So it's to the left. It's the classroom that's kind of separated from the rest of the classrooms. It's over to the left. It has its own entrance. So if you're facing it, it's going to be to the left.
And so it's one classroom.
Correct.
and so do we know how many children that would be then?
The
There's 0
total
to
would be,
2.
well, it depends on their ages because of
Okay.
the number to
Right.
caregiver ages. But we wrote in for 5, 0 to 23 months. And then 6 toddlers, which would be 24 to 35 months. And
Okay.
then 3-year-olds that may not qualify for our 3-year-old program or that sort of thing. We have 5 there as well. But
Okay.
again, it'll be a mix of need and numbers, and it will be self-pay. This is a seed grant from Early Childhood Department to help us get it off the ground. And then we have to have we had to submit a business plan on what the charges would be and how we were
Okay.
going to do that in order to lift that. So many of our staff don't qualify for things like Head Start. Some do,
Right.
but many of them don't. And so the childcare options have been very limited for our staff, and that's been a need that's been raised over and over
Mhm.
again.
Yes, no, I think that's true in dimming in general. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion
to approve.
to approve the acceptance of the Child Care Supply Building Grant Award.
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Cole?
Mr. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mrs. Paez?
Yes.
Mrs. Cameron?
Yes.
Mrs. Hernandez?
Yes,
Mr. Crow, yes.
okay.
And Madam President, members of the board, action item E is consideration and approval of Deming Public School security projects. As we were talking about security, Mr. George Au will go over some of the projects we have in the works and the funding that we have to make those security improvements in our district.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez, good evening. So what you have before you is the ESA proposal for the 2020 security projects. So this ESA proposal represents one proposal out of 4 contractors solicited through a statewide pricing agreement. This project goes back about 2-3 years when we applied for security projects with PSFA and we were awarded. We have had to redesign due to some budget constraints and now have a design and budget that the district can move forward with. And that still addresses the 4 secure vegetables at the 4 elementary school sites. These school sites are Columbus Elementary, Baton Elementary, Memorial Elementary, and Ruben S. Torres Elementary, with some additional security camera work at Bell Elementary and Red Mountain Middle School. The construction office recommends approval of the ASA Security 2020 proposal and district responsibility for work at those sites mentioned. And with that, I'll stand for any questions that you may have.
So I guess I'm just assuming based on numbers that Bell and Red Mountain are already more secure than the other schools. We
Madam
don't need
President,
many modifications.
that is correct. That is correct.
And that the other schools, Madam Chair, are already have the need, do not have this need.
They're already.
They already have the security in place.
Mhm.
Okay.
These are the 4 schools remaining that needed the secure vestibules.
Okay.
And how long, if you said this, I apologize. How long will it take?
Madam President, so the hope is to get these projects off the ground immediately. And we are hoping to have this done before summer of 2023. So I'm hoping that we can get construction and the secure vestibules before, or hopefully by the time school is out.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
We did, Madam President, we also did implement, as Ms. Superintendent Chavez mentioned, we do have video buzz-ins. We did those because of the delay in getting these secure vestibules. We did do the video buzz-ins. So we have those in place at those school sites in lieu of getting these secure vestibules in place.
Okay. No, thank you. That's a good point. Any other questions, motions?
I make a motion that we approve the Denny Public Schools security projects.
One second.
Okay, Mr. Cole?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mrs. Paez?
Yes.
Mrs. Cameron?
Yes,
Mrs. Hernandez?
Yes.
Mr. Crow, yes.
Okay. So then we have action item F.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, action item F is the approval to purchase replacement maintenance vehicles. Mr. Wertz is here at the last meeting, I believe, or when we approved the prior vehicle replacements, we didn't have these on the list
Oh,
yet,
that's
so he can provide more information.
he just likes to come back and talk to us.
Good evening, Superintendent Charles, members of the board. Yes, I think it was 2 months ago. I came to you, we had approval to purchase 10 vehicles. At that board meeting, we approved 6. And the reason why is because we were shopping, trying to find somebody who would allow us to purchase the other 4. And it's kind of hard to say that we're in a time where we have to search for somebody to purchase. We were able to work with Chalmers Ford. They are part of the CES pricing agreement in New Mexico. And just recently, I believe about 2 weeks ago, we finally got the order placed. And we're asking for approval to purchase these 4 pickups that will replace very aged. They're going to replace 4 vehicles that range from 1999 to 2004 that are in the maintenance fleet. Just a quick update. The others, we do have the Suburban is on site. We're waiting for license plates to put into commission. I've been told that the F-350 will be here mid to late December, so we're about running out of time. I'm expecting it in January. The others, they'll be here when they get here. We're hoping February-ish that we'll have the transit van and the F-150s, and then I think it's probably going to be about March to April when the Traverse is going to be here. We are probably not going to receive shipment of these 4 vehicles until probably June to August.
Yeah.
That's how far out we are. And you can give those deals. So, and they're just basic. There's no frills to them. They're just basic. So, yeah, if you have any questions, I'll be willing to stand for those.
And even with the CES price, that's still hard. So the price of vehicles are just crazy.
Well, and then, these are just plain vehicles. In order to get these and get these on time, we are actually ordering the service beds separately. And when these get here, I'll have the service beds probably 4 months before I have the vehicles themselves, and then we will take the beds off and put the service beds on them separately. So, yeah, it's a mess out there in vehicles right now.
It sounds like it. Every time you come and tell us.
Take care of what you have.
Right?
We'll wait for you to go positive.
Yes. Yeah.
We'll give you an award.
Well, we did get started early enough that, there's a good chance that we're gonna get them here and, hopefully, if we do any replacements next year, we can get on those early, as soon as we have budgets.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Motion?
Thank you, Mr. Wood.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Crowe?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Orozco,
Yes.
Mrs. Paez,
Yes.
Mrs. Cameron,
Yes.
Mrs. Hernandez.
Yes.
Mr. Crowe, yes.
Okay, last action item there.
Last action item G, consideration and recommendation for possible award of RFP 23-07, which is some counseling services. And Mrs. Parnell is here to go over that with her.
So, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez, we are recommending that Soul Counseling and Wellness Center be awarded this. We had 4 different companies send in a proposal, but Soul Counseling really checked all the boxes. We were looking for somebody that could provide services in both in-person and virtual, bilingual, and they would provide all the health providers would be licensed in the state of New Mexico. And Soul Counseling was the one that was able to provide all that information to us. So we are requesting that you approve them.
Madam Chair, these are these counselors or are they, and do we have some counselors in this, still in our schools?
So we do have counselors. So as you know, there's just a need for additional services. And so they do provide the additional services. And one thing that they're able to do as well is that when we need to have either a threat or a risk assessment, they're able to do that immediately rather than having to send a student out. And it sometimes takes weeks for them to get that. They're able to do it immediately. And so they've just it's been very beneficial, and it just enhances what we already have in place.
Thank you.
So, how many counselors are they going to? Well, I think what I'm asking is how many students are going to be able to take advantage of it? Is it throughout the district?
So it is throughout the district. So that's why we really were specific about wanting that in-person services, because it's difficult for our littles to have that remote. And so it is open for all, and it's on a referral basis, and it's the school site refer them. If the students go to the counselors and they're needing additional support, then of course we can arrange for that to happen as well.
So it's off campus is what you're saying, or is it
No,
on site?
it's on site.
Awesome. And so then the parent is going to be involved with the counseling, or is it just basically for the students?
So it is just for the student, but the parents, it's based on parent
Approval.
for sure.
And so you said that there were counseling in Spanish,
Yes.
and so how many bilingual Spanish counselors do you have? Do they
With this
have?
company,
Yeah.
all 4 are bilingual.
Oh, okay.
Wow,
That's good.
that
It's
is
hard to
good.
find. Yeah.
It is hard to
It
find.
was, yeah, and that was something that we really required, we wanted to make sure that they were able to provide the services in both English and Spanish, and so we were very fortunate to find this. Evidently that they're fully licensed in the state of New Mexico and provide the.
Well, I can see how that'll definitely
Yeah.
provide some support, because it's really difficult for people to get in to see Ben Archer. I know that,
Yes.
yeah. And they've been very helpful, and they,
Yes.
they really step up, but really they don't have enough counselors.
Right.
And then now after COVID and just all of the issues that kids have when it comes to the border and those things, I'm so pleased. That's really great.
Yeah.
Well, and sometimes it's very immediate
Yeah.
needs, and if we
Right.
cannot have someone available.
That's what's been nice about this is they've been very responsive and we have worked with them. And so we are familiar with their services and they're been a good company to work with.
And when it comes to counseling, there is like the different levels. So I know the school counselors, they have different job duties and they do, provide some counseling, but when it comes to mental health, you really just have to have that specialty.
That's right.
And somebody who can really do the threat assessments and those things. So that's great.
That is. Question? Motion?
Also move that we approve the possible award, or no, I don't guess it's
Approve the award.
the award for RFP number 23-07.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Crowe?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Roscoe,
Yes.
Mrs. Paez,
Yes.
Mrs. Cameron,
Yes.
Mrs. Hernandez.
Yes.
Mr. Crowe, yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have superintendent
And I will be
reports.
brief. We've had a lot of different reports. So Madam President, members of the board, I just wanted to let you all know. I did inform you yesterday, we take safety very seriously. And there was a community threat and our staff was amazing in responding so quickly. And I know it can be challenging and scary. And I just am very appreciative and I want you to know that we've got amazing staff and we'll jump into action whenever they need to. So I just really appreciate everyone's work on that. And then we tried to get information out immediately to parents as well. It wasn't as formal sometimes, but I know they worry as well. So we tried to do that better in this situation.
Could I?
Mhm.
I know we can't make a motion, but maybe suggest that we send a note to them that for them, for their work, because I know it's very challenging at times to,
It's nerve-wracking.
it
It's
is.
definitely nerve-wracking when there's, there's a threat and you need to do what you need to do to take care of the kids. Because they're always our first priority, and then making sure we've got coverage in all these different places. So, yes, I mean, we can definitely. do
And we may
something.
need to do we need a motion? Which
No,
we can't do
no,
today.
no,
Yeah,
no, no,
we can
no,
just ask that you
no.
do that.
No,
Yeah.
that's, and then we've had a lot of winter programs. It's been very fun going to the schools and seeing packed gyms and cafeterias and family events at our schools. It's that time of year and we've had great participation. And then our calendar meetings along those lines, we've had community calendar meetings as well as we've gone out to, Mr. Parker and I have gone out to school sites and we're getting great feedback. So we're gonna be ready, I think, at the end of January, maybe not right at the board meeting or pretty close to be able to give you kind of an update. There may or may not be calendars completely ready, but it isn't going to be a 60-day session. So we're kind of hesitant to fully approve anything until we're sure that the legislature is not going to make changes. So we'll kind of play that by ear, but we should have really good information to share with you all by the January meeting. We've had some great feedback. We still have some schools we need to get to because we had some illnesses. So just know that we're going to keep doing that the first 2 weeks of January. And then we're going to be launching a new website. It's in its update phase right now. There's video we've had a videographer going out, taking videos so that there'll be live current pictures and clips of our schools in action. And so we're looking at around the middle of January, the 20th, somewhere in there, that it should be ready. We've got staff working on their pages now.
Okay.
So I'm excited about that. And those are the big things that are happening. So that I wanted to share with you all.
Thank you.
Any questions that you have about our schools, the district?
Ms. Paez, do you want to share your experience? I know you went to one of the
Oh, so,
programs.
yeah. So I went over to Bell School for the, I think it was just the little kids. It was
Yes, they're pre-K.
Pre-K and then maybe
Second.
kindergarten up to second grade. Oh, my goodness. It was great. It was so full wasn't it, Mr. Wayne?
That's
I think,
fantastic.
yeah, I did kind of notice.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's a little small, the area for the kids, so I don't know, I think when we're talking about facilities, I think that's something that we kind of need to look at because
Sure.
it was so tight. And it was really difficult for people to have room to sit and, you know, comfortably, so I don't know what kind of solution could, could happen
So,
there.
well, one would be to have it like at the auditorium. They could choose to do it there, but the other is that this year we will be going out to RFP for a company to do our updated facility master plan. So that process will be happening in the spring. We'll choose someone and then they'll work through the process of helping us determine our priorities in the district. That could be one of them, but that'll be part of our facility master plan of what would that look like and what do we need to do for that?
I think maybe after COVID, there was just a lot of parents that were interested.
Yes,
Right.
we've
And
had
it's
that
always
across
nice
the
to see so many
district.
Parents there, but like I said, it was just really super.
Yes, yes, they're ready to come back and see
Yeah.
our events for sure.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I went to one of the Bells and EH and to the early high school
Mhm.
college. And they're very welcoming and they're very, I don't think they are anxious to show
Yeah,
what they are doing. And
for sure.
it just reminds me again of those days when I was in of the work that it takes
Oh, yeah.
to put all this together. It may seem easy to your audience, but it's a lot of work and it takes a lot of making sure you're not leaving the academics behind, but intertwining the academics within those programs so that the children aren't getting behind there either. So it's exciting to be out there.
No, definitely exciting. Okay, so then announcements. Board member requests for any agenda items for next time. You can let me know later also. And next month, we will be electing officers. And they will change. I will not be the one sitting here reading the agenda all the time, so submit your nominations to Mr. Turner, is that how we're
Yes,
doing it?
it's
Okay,
val- It's done with a ballot is the way it's required to be done.
okay. And then our next regular board meeting will be January 19th, 2023. And we'll start the new year.
And we should be hearing legislative stuff by then. shouldn't we?
Yes, definitely. Okay, and so then we have a closed session that's scheduled to occur to discuss personnel matters.
Before we do that,
Okay.
can I just make a quick announcement? Mr. Kroll and Mrs. Cameron were recognized at the last School Board Association meeting for their leadership. It was called the Leadership Achievement Awards for completion of 24 hours of leadership training through the School Board Association. So we just want to congratulate you guys and thank you for the work you put in for that. Everybody meets their hours. That's above and beyond. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for
I
doing
want
that.
to say one more thing. Olivia also got that award. She just wasn't there to receive it.
Oh, we
Yes.
did not
Yes.
know that. And Miss
Mhm.
Paez got that as well. That's good to know. Thank you. Now we can close.
Okay, no, that's okay. So I don't even know if I said that no action will be taken in the executive session. So is there a motion to adjourn the open meeting and begin the, yes, thank you.
Madam President, I would move that we adjourn our open meeting and move into closed executive session. And do I need to read
Discussion of limited,
a
yes.
discussion of limited personnel matters as authorized by section 10-15-1 H2 of the Open Meetings Act?
Okay,
I'll second.
okay, Mr. Kroll?
Mr. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mrs. Paez?
Yes.
Mrs. Cameron?
Yes.
Mrs. Hernandez?
Yes.
Mr. Crowe, yes.
Okay. Thank you all for being here.
Thank
Have a
you.
wonderful break.